Welcome to Start Dakota, a show by Startup Sioux Falls where we dispel misconceptions about starting a business, uncover unique challenges faced by founders, highlight today's problem solvers, and build a stronger startup community for tomorrow. This project is powered by the SBA.
Welcome to the Start Dakota podcast. I'm Amos. I'm the community coordinator here at Startup Sioux Falls. We have a unique episode for you today where I'm joined by a successful software business owner and someone who's building a software business and in the mix of everything that's involved. Today, we're going to talk about really what we have available for these new software business entrepreneurial people. And it's really exciting. Before we get into more of that, I'm going to have our guests introduce themselves so you can hear who we have here on the episode. So Scott, go ahead first.
I'm Scott Petersen. I'm a co-founder at a business in Sioux Falls called Hireclick. We provide hiring software to employers, mostly in the Midwest, but a bit of everywhere right now. We've been at it for about 6 years and certainly haven't figured everything out, but we're seeing good traction right now.
And you have an office downtown. How many employees do you have? What's that like?
So we're at 15 employees right now. We do have an office downtown Sioux Falls, and we have a couple working remotely across the Midwest.
Very cool. So Scott is one of the facilitators of our new software business accelerator that's starting soon, but will continue. So we're excited to have him here, get his insight in the experienced realm. And Alisha?
I'm Alisha Vincent, and I'm from here in Sioux Falls now. I've moved a few times in the last few years, but I am a co-founder of a travel tech company called Desty, and I'll share a little bit more about my story in just a minute. But Desty is a company that's designed to match people with best destinations to travel based on their personal preferences, help give them a customized trip plan, and then get them going.
Awesome. Thank you both for being here. Really, this is going to be a fun conversation. I'm excited to have it. If you're watching this or starting to listen to it, this is going to be especially beneficial for you if you're someone who is entrepreneurial, that thinks that you have a problem out there that you can solve potentially with software. We have something for you that is going to be really beneficial. It's also beneficial for people that maybe are starting or already building a software business that want to be connected into the resources locally that we have in Sioux Falls. So stay tuned, listen to what we have for you. And then even if you've already built a software business, there are so many mentors and business owners that you should really get to know. And Scott can be a great way to kind of get your way into it. Alisha as well. You probably know a lot of mentors and advisors. So that's one of the main objectives, to get you connected to the resources starting here. Second objective is to really talk about the experience from the beginning stages all the way through experienced owner and try to give you some insight there. And then the third objective, we're going to talk about the software business accelerator, the co-starters software business accelerator that we're running at Startup Sioux Falls. This is a great opportunity for you if you fall into some of those categories. All right, I think that's all of it. Scott, I'm going to start with you. We're going to really get into your story just a little bit more. Can you give us a broad overview of the journey into software as the business model that you wanted to go into and what you've been able to build?
Yeah, thanks. So we actually started as an advertising company. We started in 2007 building job boards, sort of the old-fashioned way of recruiting, okay? And when we launched that, we were able to, through partnerships with local media companies locally here, Kello TV, and us partnered on KELOLAND Employment, we were able to really go out and kind of solve that initial need for employers to get their job listings out in front of job seekers, create applications and things like that. It was about 2017 or so, or let me back up. So we actually then sort of expanded that job board network, and we were doing maybe 6 to 8 job boards across the upper Midwest, very similar to the local job board here. And all of a sudden things like Indeed and ZipRecruiter and I Need Help, really not only just finding applicants, but I need help like managing those applicants and that core need that we felt like we understood our customers pretty well. They came to us with really a blueprint for, please build this. And so it was a really great way to kind of back our way into software business. Mm-hmm. That was about 2017, 2018 or so where we got real serious about that. And ever since, we've really led with the software side. We still provide job board advertising in some cases, but the software side allows us to just solve so many more problems for clients. It allows us to take those relationships, make them even better, really grab and a sort of a longer term relationship with those clients that has been really, really rewarding. So where we're at right now, we're still very geographically centered in the upper Midwest. We've got somewhere around a little over 3,000 employers have activated a Hireclick account at one point. We have about 1,700 of those that are active right now. So there's a little bit of ebb and flow there. And we like the direction that it's going purely based upon what our clients are telling us. That's honestly the most rewarding part of it. And it's a good, it feels good to come into the office every day and really deeply feel like, okay, we made the right step because we're doing some good for these guys. So
Sure. So I hear you already maybe pulling out one of the juicy nuggets of what makes a software success story, and that's listening to your clients and building the product around your clients, solving their problems. Just to pull out some of those juicy nuggets right at the beginning so we can get a little bit more into some other things. What are those main pieces that you could quickly pull out for someone listening to this on what led to your success to this current stage in running a software business?
I would say first and foremost, I like to talk, but you need to learn how to listen really, really well. Like I said, our clients came to us with this idea of what if there was this software product that could help us do all this stuff? It would have been really easy to say, well, that feature that you're asking for is just too big, or that's just, it's too much technical debt to take on for the early version of the product or anything like that. We listened pretty closely to that. And when we came to market with a product, I would say that our first product that we went to market with was probably a little bit deeper than what it had to be looking back on it, but I'm glad we did it. Okay. So you got to listen really, really well. The other thing too, we have an amazing tech group. We've always been aligned with really, really amazing tech people. And more than that, it's one of those things that we approach any of the build out and any of our technical infrastructure as really being, it's got to be a partnership type employment model in the way that there's no way as business owners, I'm not a software guy, I'm going to come up with ideas that say, hey, we need to do this. And our tech group has always been really good at saying, I get what you're saying, but that feature that you're asking for is not going to happen within the time frame that you need it to happen in. What about this? And you kind of really partner on that concept to say, yeah, you know what, that's a good point. I didn't know that was a little bit more realistic to hit a timeline. It still fits what I need. Let's go with that. And so we've always just had a really, really great kind of give and take there on the business side and the tech side, and just trying to be adaptable.
Sure.
Yeah.
So can I ask, why are you interested in being a facilitator of this software business accelerator? Were there any stories or hitches that a guide was able to come in and really help you get beyond, or is there some other reason why you want to help newer people?
Yeah, well, I would say I really want to dive into it because I would have loved to have had this in the early stages of our company. And specifically the software company. There's just, the software business is very unique. It's really hard to read a book about business and then say, does this apply to my software company that charges a very low amount per month? So you take on a client, it's great, but you need a lot of clients to pay the bills. And it's just a really different business model. The other thing I would say is community. Like, community to me means a group of people that have the same business problems, business issues, and just need to create conversations around it. The software business is unique to those business problems. There's a lot of sort of paths. People take very, very different paths to get to the same place or whatever. There's a lot of the same vendors, as an example, that we all use. And just having that knowledge base in the community that we can ping stuff off. Also different stages of business. There's some, amazing software businesses here in Sioux Falls that have scaled to a really, really large scale. That scale process is very difficult. I would love to see more of a community that people can rely on each other to say, hey, what would you do if you were in this situation, and so forth. And I think as Sioux Falls business owners, specifically in the software world, we can do a really good job of helping people through that. So, yeah.
Okay, very good insights. So what brought us together is that, again, there's this 10-session Co-Starter Software Business Accelerator to hopefully provide those things. Are you seeing that this accelerator program can provide the community and the knowledge to create scale and really shorten that time frame? What sets this accelerator apart, and are you excited for it?
I'm really pumped for it. I'm super excited to be involved in it. It's obviously built on the Co-Starter, framework, which is just a general business accelerator. This software business accelerator is going to take the basic principles of that Co-Starter things that all founders need to wrestle with. Who am I as a founder? What is my business like? What's the personality of my business? Who am I really trying to sell to, and so forth? And it's going to take all that stuff and put it in a very, very specific software framework. We'll do that by keeping the main Co-Starters curriculum, the Co-Starters framework. Everything ties back to a Co-Starters business canvas, kind of business principles. But we will look externally for other resources very, very specific to our business. What's unique about our business, reading materials, just things that we've picked up along the way, and resources that we've uncovered. And what is it, will it help scale? Will it help? I think the idea behind it is every business is at a different stage. Every business is, has a different goal. I think what we really want to do is discovery. It's to take those hard things and have founders really wrestle with, do I have this part right? Before I really start running, do I have this part right? Whether it's marketing or tech or just framework, finding technical talent, finding marketing talent, all those things that I think are super, super important in the early part of it. I think we can do a good job of making it very, very specific to this crazy software business world. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to dive in a little bit more. I'm going to talk to Alisha now, just to get more into like the speakers and the successes that you do want to see and how that could impact Sioux Falls. We'll come back to that. Yeah. But Alisha, for context, could you really bring us up to speed on your software business journey, where it started, where you're at now, where you want to go? And then after that, we'll kind of see if anything that Scott's talking about is hitting home for what you have or what you're looking for.
Well, I don't know that I'm a startup organization. I feel like I'm more of a startup again organization because I actually tried to get something similar to what I'm doing now going a couple of years ago. It was a similar concept, but applied in a little bit different way. And when I walked into that experience, I really knew nothing. I mean, I come from the nonprofit sector and education sector. And so there was this idea, and I said this would make a really cool product. And I knew nothing about SaaS companies or software companies. So I was asking everybody I could think of, the Startup Sioux Falls community, my education community, who do you know that could mentor me or could help me? Or nobody. It was like crickets. I felt really defeated many, many times because I couldn't find a mentor, and people didn't know how to connect me to people. And they would say, well, there's this one guy that does this one thing, and he's been successful, in the world of tech, but it's really different. Fintech and what I'm doing was not quite the same thing. So I had a hard time, and I kept spending money and trying to get education and reading a lot of books and trying to learn this new language that I knew nothing about, and it was a challenge. And so rise and fall of that first couple of years ended up really falling hard in the last, probably about a year ago, where we said, my then co-founder and I sat down and said, we have a great product now, finally, after hiring out a lot of this work, but not quite sure it's the right product market fit. And Scott had alluded to the importance of that. And I think we realized just not the right fit here. And she subsequently left, and I was left really going, now what? I don't know what to do. I don't know. I still feel like I'm a very novice, if not beginner, in the world of SaaS and software and tech. And so I just was feeling like not sleeping at night, wondering how I was going to pay the bills and do the things and keep going. And then I found someone who is now my co-founder. He actually approached me. He's an artificial intelligence engineer and research scientist, and said, hey, great idea, but what if we did this and this? And so fast forward to today, and he and I work really well together as a team and have completely done a 180, if not 360, on the company itself to make it work with a better product market fit. And we're still very, very early stage, just finished a beta version of our platform, working on an MVP, haven't even launched this new version publicly, but we're excited because testing indicates so far that it's better and we're doing something better. But as it relates to this co-starters group, I'm very excited to learn from Scott and Don and everybody who's involved, just because, again, back 2 years ago, I just didn't have it and I was looking for it, and I know I need it. Even now, having had the most expensive education of my life the last couple of years, I still need this, and I still need that network, and I still need to learn. And because we're so early with Desti right now, I'm excited to be able to learn and get feedback from mentors and peers in the group as well to help us get to the next stage in the life of Desti to move forward.
Awesome. Wow. Good work. Sticking with it, making changes. I know people use the word pivot all the time, but very cool. You found a new co-founder to really help. You mentioned one thing way at the beginning. I didn't want to stop you, but you said you had this idea. This would be an amazing project, or this would be an amazing business. How did that happen? What's the inspiration process look like that you had this idea and you thought a software could maybe solve it?
Well, the original idea that began it all for me was started on a beach in Florida after a few margaritas, which is probably never a good idea, right, to get started in that space. And yeah, the original idea just was seeing a need for people who, there wasn't at the time, AI wasn't as maybe sophisticated or advanced as it is now. There was no such thing as ChatGPT and some of the more AI technologies that are advanced today. So it was just a matter of people need to figure out where they want to go based on what they really care about the most. How are we going to make that happen? And so I knew that software was the answer, or tech was the answer to that. And then over the course of the last couple of years, like I said, it didn't work out the way we thought. And it ended up that people who were using the previous product were using it mostly to match with destinations to travel to. We had thought that they would want to get matched to destinations to relocate to. Okay. And so based on what the experiences that we were having with that product and what we had out there in terms of software, it helped, I think, affirm where we're at today, knowing that people do want to use a platform like this, but they're more interested in figuring out destination discovery for short-term trips and for travel opportunities. And so that's part of what led to the pivot and a complete restructure. I mean, again, not startup, but start up again. We had to bring it all the way down to the studs and rebuild again using some more advanced AI and thinking more thoughtfully about what the consumer would want and thinking about the personas of people who were going to be using this platform for travel.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So thinking of the people who might be listening to this and might benefit from this accelerator, they could be way at the beginning and not really know what they're getting into. Now they're getting an insight into it. What I and other business owners maybe struggle with is that commitment. So can I ask, why are you committed to going through this for years, having to just tear everything down, lose a business partner, get a new business partner, rebuild it based on someone else's feedback, not what you initially had planned, that initial idea? So why do you keep going? Why are you committed to it?
I've had people ask this question to me before, and for me, it's even, it's never been about money or financial anything. For me, it's more about achievement. So I'm kind of an achiever, and man, I just can't quite give up. I see something there, I see a potential there, and yeah, even when it was at rock bottom, I'm thinking, how do I revive this? What do I do to this? How do I breathe new life into this thing to make it work? Because I want to see it work, right? I'm just that kind of person that I want to make this successful. I want to see it get to a point where there is revenue. And also part of me is, I want to not that I'm a disappointment to anyone, but you feel like that when you're hitting that kind of bottom place. Like, I've spent resources on this and so much time, and I'm doing it for myself, but I'm also doing it for people who I love, who I want to show them that with some grit and perseverance, you can make things happen. But it takes grit and perseverance and product market fit, and you have to Scott's point,
Timing.
Yeah, timing, listening to the consumer, listening to the people that you're trying to develop this thing for. If you don't have that, it's not going to work.
Okay. Well, I'm just so out of curiosity, I'm kind of going off script, but I know, Scott, you have a co-founder, and I heard you talk a while back, and you said that was a great decision for you, and it's a really good idea. Same thing, you maybe have, both of you have the business, the business mindset, the persistence, the grit, but not maybe the technical knowledge of building a software. Where do you go to find people like that? How did you even find your co-founder? How did they find you? And maybe this accelerator and network will help with it, but how did you guys do it?
Well, I'll say, first and foremost, having a co-founder has been wonderful. Hireclick wouldn't be here today if it was me alone. I can say that with all the confidence in the world. And we have a weird co-founder relationship in the way that neither he nor I are technical. And here we are in the software business. So that also can work, okay? But we looked at it like at the end of the day, our business is, it only works if we can grab lots and lots of customers, okay? That's what makes the business go, because it's a really, really affordable, very, very low cost product. Okay. And we looked at it like we're going to put our heads together and we're going to come up with plans that we need to take initially what was just an outsourced, type tech product. And we need to just really, really push large volumes of customers into that. Okay. And we balance each other out very, very well. I'm sort of the mad scientist of the group. Occasionally I'll lock myself in the room and, come up with a new product idea or something. And he's just a lot more level headed. He'll kind of keep me intact. I keep him intact. And that's been really, really good. Through the years, we've gone through we went through the financial crisis in 08, 09. We went through COVID. We went through a lot of things that caused all sorts of pivots and a lot of emotion. We were always really rocks for each other going through that. Sometimes he's helping me out, sometimes I'm helping him out. But yeah, I don't think we'd be here if either one of us tried to do it on our own. So yeah, it's been really, really good.
And how did you find your tech group to pair up with you, the two co-founders who didn't have that skill?
I'll tell you, relationships, honestly. So we've had a couple different tech resources along the way. Some partners are outsourced, and now part of our team. And the first tech partner that we had came from an old relationship that my co-founder had with in a previous business. And we both really, if we come together on anything, my co-founder and myself, we really, really believe that you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. And it's like relationships, particularly in South Dakota, mean everything. And Sioux Falls is getting to be this, great, dynamic, big, bustling metro. It still comes down to relationships. And he was able to leverage one of those old relationships to put us in place to really get some early tech built that we desperately needed built. And then when his time came to an end, he wanted to go concentrate on his own company, our first sort of tech partner. He actually reached out and got us in touch with who is now our head of technology. So it was one relationship that stemmed into other relationships, and they've just been so unbelievable for our business. So, yeah.
Does part of that just come down to being so confident and committed to what you're building that you're willing to just tell people about it? And then hopefully they have a connection and you're in the right circles, you're going to the right places, events, things like that?
Yeah, I think so. And, I think you were answering the question great on like, why do you do this, right? Like it's sort of crazy, and there's good days and there's bad days, and it's emotional and everything else. And I think every business is different from a DNA. You know, you get people that have a certain personality, and then you get the business has a certain DNA. And there's always certain parts of a business that you can't afford to make a bad decision. As long as it might take to get a solution in place, you just can't make a bad decision along the way. And we always looked at technology like that even if it means we need to slow this thing down, we need to get really, really good people involved somehow. And that has really, really paid off in droves for us. Yeah. Yeah.
Alisha, do you have any perspective on that?
I mean, I think the tech piece is really hard, right? It's finding, first of all, I think during round one of what I'm doing in this world, what I learned was finding the right tech people who have that technical expertise, if you don't have it, is really challenging. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. But more so, you have to know enough about what you need, right? There's a lot of technical experts out there, but they're skilled in very specific areas. And so you have to be very clear about what you need, because in Sioux Falls, we have really great no-code, people who know no-code applications really well, and they can build some phenomenal machinery with no-code applications. But then you have other expertise who are code professionals and, can do more with HTML and things that you might need that maybe a Bubble or one of those no-code applications can't service for you. So I just didn't know enough 2 years ago to know really what we even needed. And so someone said, oh, I'm good at this. And so I said, oh, great, we'll start down that road or that train, go down those tracks. And it was very expensive and we spent a lot. And it was the most expensive thing in that first round that we spent our money on. And, my mistake was spending too much money in that space without reserving enough to be able to really test out market fit and do some of those other things on that front. So it was an expensive lesson for me, for sure, specifically related to technology. And in that co-founder space, my co-founder at the time had probably even less knowledge and understanding of tech than I did. And so we were both kind of walking into this thing blindly and just running into walls constantly. And I think now I would say the biggest blessing in the business venture that I'm in right now with Desty is that my co-founder has technical expertise and understands the language. It felt like a foreign language for me, and it's something that he speaks very fluently. And he knows who knows who to contact. We're working with an offshore development team to help us with the tech. So he's kind of like the general contractor, if you will, that's hired the tech team and oversees what they're doing. And so, yeah, it just has worked so much more efficiently. I'm not losing as much sleep at night knowing that he's got it handled and has that expertise and can manage that. And like I mentioned before, we had to rebuild because we went from no code and now we're doing full code on this new platform. And again, it goes back to knowing what you need. We have a pretty complex system. No code can handle so much, and it's getting better and can handle a lot of complexity now too. But our system is pretty complex, and my co-founder decided he wanted to be able to manage all of those elements and code them out and work with our dev team to do that. So we kind of had full control and ownership over that process. And we're connecting, a lot of what we do is built on our own data structure that we have. So we're kind of building our own version of ChatGPT to connect with our own data structure. And of course, it takes a level of sophistication that I don't have, but I'm certainly glad and grateful that he does. And a lesson there is to pick your founders wisely, I think, and really think about what your needs are before you jump in with a co-founder.
So how did he find you again?
Just kind of, I was giving a pitch. So it was, over a year ago, I already kind of had this gut instinct that things weren't going to work out with my prior company. And so I was talking with a group in Brookings, and Brookings has been very supportive. That's where I lived. I just moved to Sioux Falls recently. So the Brookings group, the research park in Brookings, is always very supportive, and they're trying to get a lot going with their entrepreneur community there. So I was giving a presentation about what I was doing, and this guy was in the audience, and he just said, "Hey, I've always wanted to do this too, but I've wanted to work on it this way." And then we just had a series of connections and coffee chats after that, and started to wireframe some things for a pivot. And then we just, once I knew things weren't going to work with my former company, I said, let's do this together. And so we just kind of organically moved into this partnership and became official. And he's, great to work with. We have very different modes of operation, but balance each other really well. And we are able to get a lot done.
Man, I keep having questions come up as you talk because there's so much good information. Did you have mentorship on how to build a partnership legally and intelligently, so to protect yourself and to protect each other?
That's probably a whole nother podcast for a different day. Some of like what happened and going through that. So we did have some. There was some legal challenges there. I think when you get into business and get out of business, even if it's done very amicably, which it was, like she and I are still great friends and have a good relationship, but it was still hard. Like, it was still hard. Yeah. Honestly, it was very hard on the relationship and the connection. But I still, think she's a wonderful human, and I'm hopefully she thinks the same about me. But we still had to go through that, and there's still legal separation that has to happen, and it's a challenge, right? It takes a lot of time and energy. So again, think very carefully on the front end and be very cautious about vetting the people that you're going into business with, making sure, check their track record if you don't know them well. Be careful if it's just a good friend who you like to hang out with, because just because they're a good friend doesn't necessarily mean that they're the right fit for what you're going to need to make your business successful. Yeah. And definitely do get some, legal support to help you with that. Make sure you have a contract so that you can move in and out of those relationships if you need to.
So these are definitely the things that we're going to cover in the Software Business Accelerator, I'm sure, or even have the knowledge and the mentors around. So talking about the accelerator and what success can look like a little bit more, what would success look like for you, Alisha, at the end of these 10 sessions, because it's not exactly 10 weeks, but 10 sessions, what do you actually want out of it that would make you feel like this was a good investment of hours of my time? Because you've already done a lot, but what do you want out of it?
What do I want out of 10 weeks of my time? I think I want to build that network, right? Right now, I know a handful of people in Sioux Falls who love this world, who are super invested, and those people all know people who who are going through some of the same challenges that we are, or similar, and some completely foreign. So just the opportunity, I think, to interact with people who are in the position that I am, just starting, right? Maybe there's some words of wisdom or help that I can give to people who are, even earlier in the process than maybe we are. But having that peer learning network, I think, will be really helpful. For our business, the ability to learn from folks like Scott and Don and other instructors or professionals that are going to come and share with us, recognizing that our company and our platform and the technology we use is probably a lot different than Scott's, but there has been pieces of his journey that I can learn from, so I don't maybe step into those same potholes, or can gracefully move out of situations that I didn't see coming. And I want to get honest feedback. Honestly, I want honest advice about where we're at with our product, and people to say, I wouldn't go that direction, or you're putting too much time into this, or this is the place that you need to focus your energy. And if you're going to spend $10,000, you're going to want to do it in this area, just to be able to have that sounding board and get that advice. Would be great.
Okay. So hearing what one of the participants actually wants, Scott, in the short term with these 10 sessions and how they're currently built, but hearing that, how do you hope to fulfill on that desire for what success can look like in just 10 sessions for Alisha?
Yeah, so I would say, well, first and foremost, what I would say is, so Don Feige and myself are going to be co-facilitating this. And Don and I talk about this often, that we are so far from the smartest person in the room in these sessions, as we got a lot of applicants. We've sort of broken this up in such a way, and you kind of divide up the applicants, and it's very, very clear, like there's like really smart people in this thing. And selfishly, well, let me back up. So I would say Don and I's role in this is to facilitate and definitely not to teach. If I'm teaching, you want to drop out, trust me. I'm planning on learning a lot going through this as well. So like what you're saying, build the network and, maybe make certain parts of the business or certain angles just a little sharper and so forth. We're 15 years in, and we are so far from perfect as a business, and we always look for opportunities that we can do to go get involved in things like this, that as a group, back to the community, we will all learn from each other. And if somebody's sort of at a level one of a business, and maybe they just really need to work on kind of their value proposition that they have, maybe their target market or whatever, somebody else might already be a 6, and they're just looking to really refine pieces before they go to market. We hope everybody gets those logical steps along the way. In 10 weeks, we're not going to have somebody that comes out of this and says, man, I raised 10 million bucks. I'm ready to go. I'm flying. What I do think is everybody's got, in terms of deliverables, similar type of things that we can shoot a goal for. Do we have a good, clean, understandable write-up of what each business is offering? So in other words, your sales pitch, your elevator pitch, what would a landing page look like if you don't have one already that you're going to drive people to try to sell that product, or at least generate leads, things like that. We hope to take those common things, and as far as what we want everybody to get, we would love everybody in the cohort, regardless of what level you're at, to be able to get to those deliverables by the end. That said, if somebody is already out to market and somebody already has customers, I think their deliverables will be even sharper. They'll be fresher, they'll be ready to hit the market and so forth. But I would say that we want to take everybody and just ratchet them up a couple notches to feeling more comfortable for what that next step is, whether it's going to market, whether it's raising more capital, whether it's putting together a team, finding a co-founder, things like that. All the things that we go through should help if we facilitate in the right way, get there. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So now long term, that sounds awesome. For short term, sounds like it's a good fit. But long term, I know you and Don have been generously thinking about using your time outside of the 10 sessions to continue helping people in some capacity, or even reaching out to the applicants who didn't make it in this first round. How do you plan to long-term help Startup Sioux Falls and these software owners keep going?
Well, I think it is just the start, right? We are, we've logically thought out how we want to accomplish at least the start of this. That said, we do see other things down the road that, when you're, tons of customers and you're doing everything that you want to do. We want to create this community that it's not just a startup thing. We want to create, maybe it's a group of founders that want to talk about scale. Scale it's sort of like startup, but just 5-10 years down the road. You feel like you're in startup mode when you're trying to really scale that up, because just like when you're starting your business, you begin to feel like, oh man, there's a lot that I don't know all of a sudden, right? And man, if we could create this community to say, let's make the Sioux Falls area be this real hotbed for companies that really can scale. If you think of like great companies, software companies that have scaled, and the founders there, there's some great stories here in Sioux Falls that we can all learn from. And if we can create this in a way where it's not so much a 10-week structure, but might even be just an informal networking event. It might be very, very specific. We might want to take, so as an example, the software cohort. This first cohort that's going through is really focused on B2B software companies. the next, in the spring, hopefully, there'll be more of like a business to consumer. As this thing grows, we might find out that, you know what, Sioux Falls is a really heavy healthcare town. This might be a great breeding ground for healthcare software companies, okay? The more that we talk and network and so forth, the more that we can really define where's the real need, what resources do we have in Sioux Falls in terms of people and space and everything else to try to really make software be a very, very popular choice for people to tackle. And I think if we can close the loop on that and not just have, you know, you build it up, you maybe you sell it or something like that, and then you're not maybe involved with that company anymore. We want to still grab those resources and bring them in to really, really get this thing moving in the direction that we need it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great vision. And yeah, you got to start somewhere, definitely with the startups. And I know Fargo has a CEO club where these CEOs come together, and it's a different level, it's a different scale. So excited to help with that process, excited to work with you and that you have the desire to do that. Alisha, I want to make sure that we know how to help you at this stage because I got to do some beta testing with your product.
Yeah.
And at that point, you had a deadline for launching, at least the first iteration, public. So do you have an official date that we can look for? Maybe people are watching past the date, but how can we support you in your business? What's the name? Website? Can we help you that way?
Sure, thanks. Yes, and I think another lesson with tech startup is that whatever you think you're going to have as a launch date or a go public date, back that up 6 weeks, maybe more, just kind of depends because there's a lot of variables. So we did some beta testing, which I think is really wise to do, alpha testing, and then maybe some beta version of your platform and got really good feedback. So right now we're readjusting some things. Scott gave some wise advice during the beta testing as well. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So if I have a fatal flaw as a business owner, it's like, but you could make this better and you could make that better. So we're just trying to make some of the adjustments that we know are necessary based on our beta testing. And then we're going to put something out there. So if it's not before Thanksgiving, I'm hoping it'll be early in December by the time we go. And we'll just soft launch, which means we won't put a lot of marketing dollars behind it at that point to get some more feedback from our users. And it'll probably still be in beta version at that point when we soft launch, and then continue to iterate and make improvements and listen to our consumers. We have a very thoughtful strategy for getting consumer feedback once we do go public. So if anybody wants to get in that in our list serve so that we can connect with you in order to say, hey, jump on and use the platform for free for a while until you and give us your feedback, then that'll we'll gladly add you to that list. Just go to godesty.com, GODESTY. GoDesty will be your bestie. GoDesty.com.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome. And I'm sure we could put that in the show notes so people can just click on the link and join in on it. I'm on that list. I'm excited for it.
Thanks.
A really neat opportunity for people to get connected to the unique experiences and trips that they want to have with their families or by themselves that they just wouldn't know about. So
yeah, I'm excited about it too. Feel much better about it.
Yeah, you can use it. Awesome. All right. Is there anything else that's top of mind right now? I think I'm out of questions at this point, but anything else you want to leave people with to look forward to consider, to figure out how they can help with this process or be a part of it?
I would say two things for everybody. If you're in and around business, you always have either friends or relatives or whatever that always say, I have this idea. I have this idea. What do you think, or whatever? And I think that's like the heartbeat of all of this, right? And we, as a community, either look at stuff and we say, "Oh, you're crazy. You're never going to get it off the ground," which we've all heard. I'm sure I know I did. Or we, as a group and a community, say, "Yeah, like there's real resources here to do that." And I think that coming up with that idea and putting the thought in. And kind of figuring out a way that you can pour energy in, that's honestly, to me, that's the hardest part. Like that's the emotional part. If people find themselves in that and you have this idea, whether it's software or anything else, there are really great resources here in Sioux Falls, like really, really great resources and people that are willing to dive in and encourage you to reach out to, Startup Sioux Falls. and to try to get hooked up with the right program depending on the stage of that. And then the other thing too that I would say is we have a really, like, I think the best part about, in particular, South Dakota, when I talk to friends or, ex-coworkers or whatever in other parts of the country, they think Sioux Falls or they think South Dakota is this weird, like barren land or, or whatever. And I would say that, like, yeah, it's different than California, or it's different than New York or whatever. But I always say that in South Dakota, the most amazing thing is access. Like, you can talk to almost anybody if you're persistent enough. And you can't say that about other parts of the country. As business owners, as just community leaders or whatever, the thing that they can provide to this is just being attached to programs like this in whatever way you can. Some people have more time than others. Some people are more passionate about this than others. But it's amazing. Don't ever lose sight of what a 1 hour coffee talk means to somebody that needs that info. And so just my ask would be that everyone's just receptive to that. And that as we grow this thing, I mean, this is only the start of it. As we grow it, everybody's contribution is really, really important. And if you feel sort of a calling to go do it and you just don't know how to get started, same thing. Get a hold of Startup Sioux Falls. They would gladly, I'm sure, take that call and say, yeah, I got something that'd be perfect for you or whatever. But I think if we just remember that there are people that are really hungry for the network, hungry for that information. There are people that have it that are certainly willing to give it out, but we just got to bring the stuff together.
Really good advice. Yeah. And we have so many free events and programs, and we want to have no gates to anyone. One of the words you said was everybody should reach out. Everybody should try to be a part of a community and use these things, and it's available to everybody. It truly is. So we'll do our best to remain inclusive, low cost, no barrier to entry, nothing like that. This first Co-Starter's Business Software Accelerator, mouthful, it's no cost to participants through our SBA grant. And then this next one, same thing. And then even beyond that, we have individuals that are supporting with a scholarship fund, founder funders that are providing scholarship money to, again, keep it at no cost to these participants getting into it. So we're here for you. We're ready for it. Thank you for the advice. Any last thoughts, closing thoughts, Alisha? Just
echoing what Scott said. I think for me, I've got a lot going on. I mean, I'm still wearing multiple hats to try to make everything work. And so honestly, I was a little hesitant when people were saying, you should apply for this. Because I was thinking, when am I going to fit this in? I don't have time, And so Startup Sioux Falls offers a wealth of great resources, opportunities to connect. It can be hard to say yes to all those things all the time. And so I think be thoughtful about what you say yes to and how important it might be for your organization. In this case, I said, you know what? I need this. I know a lot, but I know I don't know a lot as well. I know this is an opportunity I can learn from. I'm going to make time. I'm going to make sure that I can take an hour out of my week once a week to do this, because I think there's value there, and I'm appreciative of the opportunity. And I would encourage people who are in similar shoes as myself to be thoughtful about what you need to make time for, and then make time if you can, because I do think it will be worthwhile, and I'm looking forward to the experience.
Looking forward to seeing the outcomes as well of this first one. We're going to do more of them. If you ever need to reach out to me or anyone at Startup, please do. We'll get you connected to the resources, the events, the programs. That's all good, but the community is really what we're trying to really lean into and build so that you can get connected to everyone you need along the way. All right, I think that's all. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Amos.
And best of luck in this accelerator. We'll be right there with you, helping where we can. So, just to start.
Go Dusty, right?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for Start Dakota. Visit our website at startupsiouxfalls.com to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please tell a friend to rate our show on iTunes. If you are a founder and aspiring entrepreneur, you can get started by visiting our website at startupsiouxfalls.com/start. Start Dakota is made possible by funding from the U.S. Small Business Administration. With this funding, Startup Sioux Falls is piloting an expanded version of its Co-Starters Business Accelerator program and providing additional resources to support underserved founders. Start with Startup Sioux Falls.